what you mean, Blair. Trust's a tough thing to come by these days.
Welcome to Doc's Pop Reviews. We're talking about my favorite Halloween movie of all time, 1982, John Carpenter's The Thing. Got a couple of friends with me to talk about it today, Sam and Dane. And so we're going to try to answer questions in our own humble opinion. And so we're going to start, I guess, kind of working backwards. We'll start with the main question everybody has. Who was the thing at the end? And then if you have any support to it, feel free to answer. Sam, you want to start?
I'm going to say McCready just because it'd be the best scenario to have that guy that survives, that's been trying to kill it the whole movie, be the guy with it. Probably not, but that just sounds like a better ending.
Okay, story-wise, so Childs is human?
Yeah.
And McCready's the thing. What do you think, Dane?
I think that they probably had gotten it and killed it.
So you think both are human?
Yeah, and they end up just killing themselves.
Just freezing to death.
Yeah.
I agree with Dane, because it is a horror movie. It is an alien invasion movie. But in my opinion, story-wise, above all else, is a trust movie. And the trust gets broken down between these guys all the way throughout the movie. So at the very end, it's like, who can you trust? So I do believe McCready was human, and I think Childs was human. It's just neither one could trust the other. I don't have any support for that, but I'm kind of on your end. Like, story-wise, I think that's the better story ending. I know there's been interviews with John Carpenter like 30 years later that he does confirm one of them was the thing, but he doesn't tell us who. Their support, if you look at the 2011 movie, there's support that shows that Childs is actually not the thing, but there's no proof that McCready is. So it's a lot of back and forth, but that's my opinion. And let us know down in the comments who you think the thing is. Do you think it's Childs? Do you think it's McCready? Next question. How has this movie stood the test of time, and why didn't the 2011 version work? A lot of people watched the 1982 one all over the years. I watch it every year. A lot of people watch it, but the 2011, like you said earlier, Sam, you've only watched it once. I've only watched it once. My wife's only watched it once. We all gave it a shot, like, oh, okay, but it didn't work out. So we'll start. Dane, how come? What do you think? Why hasn't this 2011 version worked as opposed to the 1982 John Carpenter's vision?
Well, I think we're all going to come to close to the same conclusion that the CGI just wasn't good. Practical effects is where it's at. Still to this day, it holds up. And I mean, other than that, that was the biggest things for me.
Practical effects versus CGI. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, that's like the biggest thing, right? Like, you see the prequel made in 2011, they use a lot more CGI, and the CGI has it's like you find less connection to it because you know it's CGI, rather than like the dog scene or the defibrillation scene or where the head scene is like, these things are all like in real time, real. It's like those creature creators, they're like a master of their craft. Like, they draw you more into the story with these realistic props. Like, you know, you can go contrast all those 80s movies like Aliens and stuff. They never use, but when they started getting into the newer era, you started using CGI, it became less like personal. Like, to me, it's just, you lose contact with these stuff. Like, you know, it's CGI. It's not like the thing is in that room with that person. So
it's like looking at a tennis ball or something.
Yeah, you know, it's a green screen or something there.
Yeah, because I remember for the 1982 one, when the head comes off and drops and turns into the creature, they are legit looking at that, you know. But when it changes in 2011, when I forget her name, but the woman's behind Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and she just like, her body just separates. It's clearly obvious as CGI. I agree with all that. I also think the problem with the 2011 version is they had to work around John Carpenter's vision, whereas in 1982 they got to work with his vision, like in his vision, because Kurt Russell got to work and talk to John Carpenter every day. Hey, can we do this? Hey, can we do that? Whereas 2011, John Carpenter didn't direct it. They just had to keep watching the thing and say, okay, let's do this and let's do that. And they didn't get that personal touch. So that's what it all comes down to. They didn't get the personal touch. And I feel like 1982's version had better actors.
That's true.
Nothing against Mary Elizabeth Winstead or Joel Edgerton or any of those guys, but Kurt Russell, Keith David, all those guys, they're very intense, and I feel like I know it's still a little bit early to do it, but it's almost like they tried to be a little bit woke, having the female leader. They kind of tried to replicate Aliens.
Yeah.
Tried to do Ripley.
But even like the cinematography from the 80s is so different from the newer cinema. Everything seems to be more technologically better and cleaner. Like that older, gritty, dark, everything is like real dark and dim. Like Aliens, dark and dim, Thing, dark and dim. It's like it adds more to the fear factor.
Yeah.
It just, you can't really see everything. Everything still seems kind of unclear on the screen. And that's what, like, just like a torch or something, or like a flare is the only thing that's lighting the room. But I mean, they do it in the newer movies, but they digitally make up things. They kind of clean up areas, they dim areas digitally. So to me, that was just like more real. It's just more real, more of a realer cinematography era than now, because now it's just technologically based. Everything is so,
Yeah, I don't know about the 2011 version, but I know for 1982 when they went to go actually on the set, they almost died on the way there.
Oh, yeah?
They're all in a bus driving in a blizzard and storm, and they almost slid off and went off a cliff and all that. Everybody hang on, that kind of thing. And so they were actually trying to be on set, whereas 2011 it kind of looks like might have been shot in a studio and a little bit of fake snow. But I think Kurt Russell, when he throws the dynamite at Palmer, when he goes out, Kurt Russell was actually standing too close, and like some of the shrapnel actually hit him. So like the 80s and stuff, there's a lot. They took a lot more chances, took a lot more risks, but it made for a better movie. Okay, next question. So they do the blood test. The blood test is a very famous scene. Palmer is revealed as the thing. Palmer gets killed. Windows gets killed. Final four. The blood test happens. They know they're human at this point. McCready, Knowles, Childs, and Gary. Those are the final four. Blair is in a cabin, isolated, but we know, watching the movie later, he is, at that point, the thing. And so McCready comes up with a plan. Childs, watch the base over here, and these three are going to go get him. He is now gone under to get his own spaceship to try to freeze to death, or not freeze to death, but to freeze in order to try and do this thing all over again, wait them out, let them die. McCready says, all right, let's burn it all to the ground. We're not going to make it out of here alive. So it's basically a suicide mission to ensure the thing dies to protect the entire Earth. How would you have tried to beat the thing? Or do you feel like this is the best idea? In order to save the world, we have to sacrifice. In order to save the world, we have to sacrifice ourselves too.
Yep, I'm with McGrady 100%.
100%.
That's the safest way. There's no taking chances. Everything is burnt. Everybody's dead. I mean, yeah, that's probably the hardest choice. But if you really was about saving the world, that's the sacrifice you make. You let this thing out, the world is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't let this thing out there. That would be like the end of civilization. There'd be no way to stop it at that point. Like a zombie infection.
Yeah. I wouldn't have gone against his plan if that was the absolute thing we have to do. But I feel like the biggest mistake before that had to happen was they separated from Childs. There were them four. They knew right then, all four together, they knew us four are human.
They should have stuck together. Childs has a flamethrower.
McCready has a flamethrower. I don't know if they had any more flamethrowers, but they got those Molotov cocktails and all that kind of stuff going on. why not all four try and hunt this thing down? And then once they've hunted it down and it's dead, all four got to take the test again if they make it that far. But even when they go down to hunt him from the spaceship, Gary goes left, Knowles goes right, and they both die, like right off the bat. And then that's when we're left with McCready and Childs, and then we don't know, But in the end, hopefully the thing is dead, but we don't know. So, and then you asked this before we started recording. What was your question before we started recording? About only one can be assimilated?
Yeah, I haven't watched the movie in a couple years, so I don't know if they clarified it in the movie. I forget, but my thinking is, from what I remember, that it needs one whole. It only hosts one body at a time. But I could be wrong, because I don't remember any part of the movie where there's more than one person that has it.
So, when they discover Palmer as the thing, Blair has to be the thing at the same time, because he's
already in isolation.
Yep.
Okay.
He has, because otherwise it wouldn't have transferred. It would have ended with Palmer and Windows, and then that would have been it, and Blair would have been human. And then also,
nobody came in contact with him at any point.
See, that's another question.
They did not feed him or anything.
So there's a part where McCready goes to see Blair. And Blair, next to Blair, is actually a noose. It's been tied off. It looks like he's going to hang himself. And Blair is eating canned food. And earlier in the movie, Fuchs said, "Hey, we need to make sure we eat our own food, canned food, and nobody's allowed to touch it." But the only way Blair got his food is somebody brought it to him. So it had to have been either Palmer or Norris, and they infected the can, gave it to him, he ate it, and he got assimilated. So that is another thing. Palmer and Norris were both the thing at the same time. Norris was the one who had the heart attack.
Oh, defibrillation.
The defibrillation. So then when he is separating, Palmer is already the thing.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
And so that's when they do the blood tests later.
Yeah.
So Bennings looks like the first one that gets assimilated. He's just the first one that gets burnt.
Yeah.
That's basically what it comes down to. So no, it's not just one host at a time. It's just I think Norris was the first one, because the dog comes into a room and there's a shadow and it looks like Norris. So I think it starts with Norris, but then Norris, McCready, and Palmer go to the spaceship. If Palmer would have been infected then, they would have just assimilated McCready. Because it would have been two versus one. Yeah. But they don't do that. So what rating would you give John Carpenter's The Thing?
I would do 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Oh, okay, 4.5 out of 5. Okay, what about you?
Out of 5 stars.
I mean, you can do it 5 stars. I was thinking 1 through 10, IMDb rating kind of thing, but you can rate it however you want to. A plus, A minus.
I think 8.75.
8.75.
Like it's up there, almost close to a 9. But I don't want to give anything a perfect score. No movie's perfect.
Yeah. I give it a 9. I can't think of what I don't. I guess the one thing that always disappoints me in the movie is we don't see Knowles' death. I know they filmed it, but when they presented it to a test audience, the audience laughed, and John Carpenter didn't want them to laugh. I guess it looked. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it looked goofy, looked silly. There's no footage of it. I guess he just burnt it or just was I don't want this ever going out. But Knowles' death was left open-ended. We know he dies. There's no doubt. Even if the thing didn't get him, he was going to freeze to death. But that's probably the one thing I was I wish we could have seen something with Knowles. But other than that, I thought the movie is awesome. Yeah, it's my favorite horror movie, Halloween movie. Is it your favorite Halloween, or you got something else?
I don't want to say it's my favorite because there's a lot out there, but that's definitely top 3 horror movies of all time.
Okay. Do you know your number 1? Do you have a number 1?
No, I haven't really thought about it.
Okay. What about you, Dane?
It's definitely at the top 3. Like, my number one is Army of Darkness. just
Army of
because
Darkness.
I like dark comedy.
That one, I know that one's pretty big on practical effects too, right?
Yeah. That was in that same era.
That one I actually haven't seen yet. I need to watch that one next.
Yeah.
But
That's so good.
yeah, I need to watch it. I think it's on HBO Max right now. I should check that one out. But anybody, well, if you listen to this and you've never seen the movie, you definitely got spoiled. But definitely recommend it to anybody and watch it multiple times. Any other notes or questions or anything comments you guys had about the movie?
Didn't McCready figure out that these things work independently? Like when the head came off and it started moving on its own?
I thought it was the other way around. He figured out the cells work together. That was the point in the blood test, right? Because Palmer was separate
He wanted to,
from the blood.
and when you burn it, it burned, and he
Yeah, it did the whole
jump.
It freaked out, and then he started shaking, and that. Okay, well, let's do this. What is your favorite scene in the thing? Because I know you listed off like 3.
Yeah.
But what's your absolute favorite thing in the favorite thing? What's your favorite scene in the thing?
The dog scene.
The dog.
I remember as a kid, that scene is the freakiest scene.
That scene sticks with you
Yeah.
once you watch it as a kid.
For me, it's the couch scene with Palmer. When Palmer is revealed and he's lifting Childs and Gary off, and they are screaming bloody murder. Get me off of this thing! And like nobody's helping them. Like McCready has his flamethrower. It's messing up. Windows has his flamethrower, but he's frozen in fear, and these guys are just screaming bloody murder. I think for me, it's more because it's comical.
Yeah.
Like just them, they just want out of that couch right then and there, and it's not happening for them. So, but all those scenes are really good. The blood scene, the defibrillator scene when he sticks his arms in, they get chopped off. That was practical effects too, because that's an amputee.
Oh yeah.
That's an actual. That's not CGI. All they did was they took a picture of the actual actor and just like taped it to the face of the amputee. So when he pulls his arms back, it's just a guy with no arms.
Smart.
Legit, yeah.
Everybody gets a job.
Yeah. So as far as the cells working independently, though, it's just more. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's independent, but it's together. Like they have to survive. If a part of it is attacked, the other part is going to react, basically. But that cell could go off and assimilate someone. You know, it can do that.
That's the thing that kind of contradicts itself, because like you said, it tries to help its other parts, but at the same time, it'll leave to survive.
Right.
Like if the other parts he knows it's worthless, and it needs to leave the room, it'll just leave it behind and let it burn.
It'll forsake its rest of its body to take off the head.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and that was a weird thing too when the defibrillator scene with Norris. I know the one thing I never understood about that scene is when he's on the table and he's opened up, his head separates from the body, but then another really long Beetlejuice looking snake head comes out. I was like, where did that head come from? I never understood how he had 2 heads coming out of there, but I don't know, they just went heavy with the practical effects, and I mean it still does a good job, still scary. I love it. So, but that's the end of our episode, unless you guys have any more comments.
Oh, make sure you watch it.
Watch it. Leave your comments down below. What's your rating? Who do you think the thing is at the end? And thanks for joining us.